Thank you. It's been a great pleasure to have met these two very fine physicians and fantastic human beings, as they always remind me. Some of you obviously know Christian. Working with those two gentlemen over the past more than a year now, I think, to try and pull this event together has been an amazing experience. They're the heart and soul of this, and they dragged me every step of the way, as well as some of the rest of the people in the room, to make sure that this is going to be a success. So I'm really looking forward to the rest of the couple of days here. I got my start actually working in a healthcare facility in my professional career. So I started out in the IT field at a hospital system. And one of the things that I learned very, very clearly there is how amazing modern healthcare is. It saves lives every single day. Connected medical devices, electronic health records, and the things that we're able to do because of this connected technology has such amazing potential when it works right. When it fails, it has the opportunity for peril for our patients and for the public. Very, very early on in my career, we had an incident in the healthcare delivery organization, and it affected our servers. They got this malicious software attacking them from inside the hospital against other systems inside the hospital. And we spent about a day cleaning that up, and we got it taken care of, and it was all good. And then the next day, I got a call from a physician. And the physician said, hey, I'm up here in the natal intensive care unit, and our fetal heart monitors are having issues. We thought it might be related because we see the Windows screen popping up about every 15 minutes when the medical device restarts. Can you take a look at it? I said, God, I've never touched a medical device before. But I went into the field, and I sat down with the physicians, the nurses, and I watched them work in this natal intensive care unit where they had to call in extra resources to be able to do the same things and the same functions as the fetal heart monitors were doing, to make sure that the most precarious members in the hospital were taken care of. So I called the manufacturer of the medical device, and I said, hey, look, we've got a problem here. How can you come fix it? And they said, oh, well, it sounds like it's been compromised. The integrity of the device has been compromised, and so we can't help you. I said, what do you mean you can't help? These devices are rebooting. I said, well, it's a medical device, so we can't change anything that's on it. I said, wait a minute, no, it's changed. I want you to get it back to the way it was approved. I said, sorry, we can't help you. I said, well, that's not a good enough answer for me anymore. I'm here watching these physicians do their jobs to the best of their capabilities, and they're being held back by the very equipment that they are counting on to save lives. And so, thinking like a hacker, I quickly put together a business case for the hospital administration, because I knew it took a team to make this happen. They looked it over, signed off on it, went through legal, went through compliance, and very, very quickly, they approved it. So the same day that we found the problem in the natal intensive care unit, they tasked me with solving that problem. And what I had proposed to them was to use the same method that the malicious software used to get into those medical devices, but to heal them. And just like Christian and Jeff talked about, once you know a vulnerability in a system, you can make an improved system. Well, I made an improved system that day. I used a commonly available security research tool. I got into the medical devices. I deleted the malicious software. I installed the fix, and I rebooted it. And after that, the physicians were able to get back to saving lives of the patients. They were able to get back to the normal standard of care that they were used to, and the normal resource levels. Because one of the biggest threats to the hospital at that time was, if this incident had continued for a prolonged period of time, the resource drain would have been greater than the resources they had to bring to bear It would have greatly increased cost of delivery, greatly reduced consistency and quality of delivery, and there would have been mortalities because of this. So that reinforced to me that our dependence on connected technology is growing faster than our ability to secure it. And where in corporate IT, we might spend $1 trillion over the next 5 years globally on people, processes, and technology, we'll still have a very, very high failure rate, maybe as much as 100%. Certainly for some organizations, they're already, despite what they spend, getting breached and having security incidents fairly routinely. If we apply that same amount of financial pressure to the healthcare space, an extra $1 trillion worth of cost into the system over the next 5 years, it's going to break. It will be even worse. If we have the same failure rates in enterprise IT as in healthcare IT, it'll be unacceptable trade-offs. And my great fear is that physicians, patients, hospital administrators, and policymakers, in the face of these high costs and high failure rates, will retreat to less effective cures and treatments, to less promising things than personalized medicine, than figuring out how to treat new diseases, to anticipate outbreaks, and to jump in preventatively, to reduce costs and increase quality of care. This is not just a US problem, by the way. Globally, we are moving towards a more connected healthcare system because of the great promise. But we must also prepare so that we don't fail in the face of things like ransomware that hit Hollywood Presbyterian, or the WannaCry ransomware outbreak. And I too have a story about WannaCry. Again, a couple of weeks before we were putting this thing together, the WannaCry ransomware outbreak happened globally, shut down patient care across several healthcare institutions in the UK, as well as impacted organizations in the US. The night before this broke out, I was actually on stage at the Heart Rhythm Society at a keynote presentation, keynote panel. And someone asked me something along the lines of, don't you think that some of the things you're talking about in cybersecurity are a little bit alarmist? And I said, well, look, I want to raise the alarm without it being alarmist. We must preserve trust in the public health system so that patients still seek health, so that we don't inadvertently cause more harm by raising these types of concerns and issues. And generally the crowd received that well. The next morning, WannaCry happened, and unfortunately, the raising the alarm part was not my task anymore. My task was jumping to the other side and preserving confidence in the medical system. But something very different happened to me the following weekend, which is that my mom suffered a minor heart attack and went into the hospital and started getting care, the best care available. She's okay now. She's going through rehab, and she didn't have to have any major procedures, thank goodness. What she did have was a very minor, today what is a very minor medical procedure that 100 years ago didn't exist. And she's able to walk out of the hospital on her own 2 feet in a way that wouldn't have happened without some of the connected healthcare that we have today. And so it was absolutely amazing to see the modern healthcare apparatus at work. I firmly believe that it's the best system, the best healthcare that money can buy. But when we were trying to discharge her from the hospital, they said, we can't discharge your mother because our systems are down. I said, well, wait a minute, what do you mean? I mean, she's got legs, we can walk out. They said, no, well, we can't discharge her because we don't know what medications she came in taking. We don't know what treatment we gave her while she was here. We don't know what medications to give her when she goes home. I said, this blows me away. Why don't you know this? If she had some incident right now, would you give her substandard care because you've forgotten how to what you gave her in the past because you've forgotten what that trajectory looks like. How is this okay in any way? And that really, for me, underscored that there's a promise here of great healthcare, but there's also a peril. That when it works well, it's amazing. But when it fails, it can be appalling. A lot of the nurses and physicians there knew how to give top-notch care with medical devices and with electronic systems in place. But when they failed, they couldn't. It broke their routine, it broke their rhythm, it broke their system. Now, if she had had a major incident, I'm sure they would have jumped in and fixed things. But for the son of a patient, it's pretty terrifying to think that you're one network outage away from a major healthcare crisis in a hospital. And for me, that's not acceptable, and that's why I work so hard to preserve the trust that we have in the system by making it trustworthy rather than empty platitudes or rather than allowing it to be the status quo where we're on a razor's edge. And that's what's driven me through the last few years in my career as I've moved from more of a technical hacking capacity, being a penetration tester and a consultant, into a policy hacker, trying to go and inform stakeholders so that they make better decisions in the private sector as well as in the public sector. And it's been my great honor and privilege in this quest to work alongside one of the best people in cybersecurity today. And that's the next speaker up, Joshua Corman, who is my boss at my day job, but we worked together at essentially a nonprofit for several years before that called I Am the Cavalry. And I'm sure he'll probably tell one of the origin stories of that. But I got involved very quickly after finding out about it because it was such a great thing, such a great cause to be able to affect change in the world. And now I will present to you Mr. Josh Corman, Director of the Statecraft Initiative at the Atlantic Council, co-founder of I Am the Cavalry, and a wonderful human being. So, Josh?